Ever walked away from a conversation feeling like you just went 10 rounds in a boxing ring, even though no punches were thrown? Or maybe you replayed the whole thing in your head, wishing you'd said just one thing differently? Hey, you are not alone. We've all been there. But what if I told you there's a way to navigate those tricky talks with grace, confidence, and actually end up feeling closer to the other person, not further apart? This video dives deep into the insightful world of The Next Conversation, Argue Less, Talk More by Jefferson Fisher. This isn't just another communication guide filled with fluffy advice. Fisher, a seasoned trial lawyer and communication coach, lays out a practical, no-nonsense framework that can genuinely transform how you connect with people, both in your career and your personal life. Stick around, because understanding these principles could be a real game changer for you. The core philosophy of this book revolves around a simple yet profound idea. It's not just about the conversation you're in right now, it's about the next one. Fisher argues that we often get so caught up in trying to be right, defend our position, or shut down the other person in the heat of the moment. But what if we shifted our focus? What if we considered how our actions and words in this conversation will impact whether the other person wants to talk to us again? As Fisher puts it, every conversation is a bridge or a barrier to the next one. This future-focused mindset is key. Instead of aiming to win the argument, the goal becomes building a path forward, one that encourages continued dialogue, active listening, and genuine connection. This is communication with continuity, a concept that sets the next conversation apart. So, how do we build these bridges instead of barriers? Fisher provides a powerful three-part framework. Say it with control, say it with confidence, and say it to connect. First, say it with control. This isn't about being manipulative, it's about emotional regulation. Uncontrolled emotions, Fisher emphasizes, are the wrecking balls of dialogue. His primary technique here is the conversational breath. Before you respond, especially when things get tense, pause, take a breath, and reset your tone. Why? Because arguments are rarely about cold, hard facts. They're fueled by tone, emotion, and how the other person feels in that moment. Fisher's crucial insight is this: the calmer person ultimately controls the conversation, not by dominating it, but by setting its emotional temperature. Consider this: in a heated family discussion, a single, conscious breath can be the difference between an escalating shouting match and a calmer discussion. Or imagine a high-stakes negotiation where a manager, instead of firing back an angry email, pauses to breathe and respond thoughtfully, leading to a more collaborative outcome. Next, we have say it with confidence. This isn't about being loud or aggressive. It's about expressing yourself with clarity and self-trust. A major tool here is the use of I statements instead of accusatory you statements. For example, saying, "I feel overwhelmed when I'm not kept in the loop," is far more constructive than "you never tell me anything." Confidence also means holding your ground respectfully, using phrases like, "Let me finish this thought," or "I'm not comfortable with that approach," without becoming confrontational. Finally, say it to connect. The ultimate aim isn't just to be heard, but to be understood, and to understand the other person in return. Connection thrives on curiosity and empathy. This involves listening actively to learn, not just to formulate your response, acknowledging the other person's emotions before jumping to logic, and resisting the urge to immediately solve their problems. Fisher introduces the mirror, label, validate technique. First, mirror what they said by repeating their words neutrally. Then, label their emotion. For example, "It sounds like you're frustrated." Finally, validate their experience by saying something like, "That makes sense. I'd feel the same way." This simple yet powerful technique builds a psychological bridge of trust. One of the most insightful concepts in the book is Fisher's metaphor of the knot. He suggests that every argument is like a tangled knot of emotions, assumptions, and unmet needs. We often get stuck pulling at the outer strings, the surface-level arguments, but the real issue lies in the core tangle of underlying feelings. For instance, a couple might argue about who does more chores, but the real knot might be one person feeling unappreciated. Fisher's advice is crucial. Don't get bogged down in the superficial stuff. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? Seek to understand the knot. To help us navigate these knotted conversations, Fisher provides a toolkit of tactical conversation tools. Here are a few key ones. The 3-second rule. When emotions run high, give yourself a brief 3-second pause before speaking. That small window can drastically alter the course of the conversation. Boundaries versus barriers. It's important to understand the difference. Barriers push people away, like saying, "I'm done with you." Boundaries, on the other hand, preserve the relationship while stating your limits, such as, "I'm not okay with being yelled at, but I want to resolve this." The future test. Ask yourself, how will I feel about this interaction 24 hours from now? This helps you take a step back, regulate your emotions, and choose your words more wisely. Talk time. For difficult or sensitive topics, Fisher recommends scheduling intentional conversations. This avoids unexpected drive-by conflicts and allows both parties to come prepared and focused. Ending a conversation well is just as crucial as starting it with clarity. Fisher advises us to summarize the key points to ensure mutual understanding, leave the door open for future discussion if needed, and affirm the relationship to create emotional closure and increase the likelihood of smoother future interactions. Fisher illustrates these principles through real-life applications in various contexts, including workplace conflicts, romantic relationships, parenting, and even friendships and family dynamics. He shows how these tools can reduce passive-aggressive communication at work, help couples navigate disagreements about finances by uncovering underlying feelings of insecurity, guide parents in keeping teenagers engaged in conversations by validating their feelings first, and even help mend years-long family tensions by focusing on tone and intention. The book also delves into the inner game of communication, exploring how our own identities and egos can often fuel conflict. The stories we tell ourselves, like, "If I lose this argument, I'm weak," or "If they don't agree, they don't love me," can sabotage connection. The antidote, Fisher argues, is self-awareness and emotional maturity. He reminds us that the strongest communicator isn't the loudest, but the one who can sit with discomfort and still choose connection. Finally, Fisher dedicates a section to the art of giving and receiving feedback, as well as the importance of sincere apologies. He emphasizes starting feedback with curiosity, being specific rather than general, and ensuring feedback is constructive, not punitive. When receiving feedback, he advises us to absorb it without immediate reaction and reflect on whether our ego is hindering our growth. A genuine apology, according to Fisher, includes acknowledging the harm caused, taking responsibility without deflecting blame, and offering to repair the situation. In conclusion, the next conversation offers more than just communication techniques. It provides a fundamental shift in how we approach dialogue. It encourages us to talk less to be right and talk more to connect, to think long-term, even in short exchanges. By consistently applying these principles, we can transform not only our conversations, but also our relationships, our reputations, and our overall success in life. Remember, as Fisher wisely states, the next conversation begins now with how you end this one. If you found these insights valuable and want to explore these ideas in even greater depth, the link to purchase the book is in the description box below.